to Storytime with Herbal Roots zine. I'm Kristine Brown, and today I'm going to read to you a story I wrote for Herbal Roots zine from issue number 115, Prevalent Poke. If you know poke, chances are you've been taught to stay away from this highly poisonous plant. While you should use poke with caution, it is a highly prized medicinal plant and worth taking the time to get to know. In the spring, the green shoots of poke are boiled in several changes of water to make a delicious southern dish known as poke salad. The roots, when taken in extremely small doses, are used to help stimulate the lymph and immune systems. An oil infused with poke root can be utilized by lactating mothers to combat mastitis by massaging it into the afflicted area and wiping it off before nursing baby. A small amount of berries are mashed and strained in water to create what is known as pink water, an Appalachian folk remedy I learned from herbalist Phyllis Light to help flush out symptoms of a lingering virus. A small amount are also swallowed whole as a remedy for rheumatism and arthritis. It is safe to do this as long as the seeds are not chewed. That's just a few things that we can use poke for. A word of caution, the plant does contain toxins, so be sure of the dosage before you use it. And if you show any symptoms of nausea, vomiting, or seeing flashes of light, stop using it immediately. If you're concerned that you took too much, eating some plain yogurt can help to absorb the toxins of poke. But don't let that scare you. Poke is a safe and wonderful herb as long as it is used correctly. So today's story is Poke and the Sorcerer. A long, long time ago, there was a village of people that lived nestled in the valley of a giant mountain range. For the most part, the villagers lived a happy life, but there were times that their happiness was shaken by the evil sorcerer that lived in the mountain directly behind the village. The villagers didn't really know the sorcerer existed. When something bad happened, they always equated it to something else. But every now and then, one of the villagers would catch a glimpse of the sorcerer and question who he was. The sorcerer was jealous of the happy villagers and their simple, carefree lives. From high up in the mountains, he would glare down at them and plot how he could make their lives miserable. He knew they didn't know he existed. He observed how they used the plants around their village for food and medicine and fibers for clothing, and he decided to start meddling with the plants to see if he could make them miserable. First, he brewed up a potion and poured it over their favorite food source, the nettles patch. Back in that time, nettles did not sting, but after he poured the potion over the nettles, they became stinging nettles. But the people learned to overcome the sting by heating the nettles before eating them. The sorcerer scowled. Again, the sorcerer crept down towards the village and watched them gathering elderberries to use for making syrups. He poured a potion over the plants so the berries would become toxic. But again, his potion didn't work because they cooked the elderberries before they used them, and so they did not make the villagers sick. The sorcerer shrieked. When the villagers heard the shriek, it sounded like a foul wind blowing at night during a dark storm. But the sky was blue and the sun was shining. One villager thought he saw the sorcerer but no one else was around to verify what he saw. The sorcerer tried again. He saw that the villagers used the poke bush a lot, so he mixed up another potion, and this time surely strong enough that it would put all the villagers to sleep forever when they ate the poke. He poured it into the bush and giggled with glee when he saw streaks of red creep up the stem. This time his plan worked. The villagers harvested and ate the poke and fell fast asleep, except for one little girl who was taking a nap when the village ate the poke. The sorcerer came down to the village to admire his handiwork. He giggled and rejoiced that he had put the entire village to sleep. As he was wandering through the village, he heard a cry. Stunned, he stopped and looked around to see where that sound was coming from. He saw the little girl sitting on the ground with her family lying all around her. At first he was frustrated and he stamped the ground in anger. But then the little girl looked up at him with big tears in her eyes, and he felt a twinge in his heart. He began to walk away, but the little girl got up and ran after him, slipping her little tiny hand into his. He looked down at her face and then at her tiny hand, and he began to falter. At once, he knew he had done a very bad thing, and picking her up, he promised her he would make everyone better and carried her off to his mountain home. Once they arrived there, he set to work creating a new potion to pour onto the poke plant. He explained to her that they would have to put one pokeberry into every villager's mouth, and it would clear the toxins from their bodies so that they would awaken. After the potion was made, the sorcerer and a little girl hurried to the poke plant where he poured the potion over the poke plant. This time, the berries turned from white to a deep purple-red color. Then he and the little girl picked all the ripe berries and hurried back to the village with them, where they began popping them into everyone's mouth. Gradually, the villagers began to wake up. At first, they were frightened of the sorcerer, but when they saw that the little girl trusted him, they welcomed him into their village. And from that day on, the sorcerer became good and helped the villagers out. And that is the story of how poke became useful for clearing toxins. I hope you enjoyed today's story. If you'd like to learn more about poke, you can find the poke ebook in my shop. I'll put a link in the description. Thanks for visiting Herbal Roots Zine for Storytime, and I'll see you next time.